I think what people need to understand is that virtual worlds are going to evolve with or without Second Life. Whether Linden Lab is the one who does it or some other company that does it, maybe Facebook, with all the users that they have currently, it's going to happen one way or the other. I would hope that it comes out of Linden Lab than some other company that doesn't understand who we are. Things will be creative. They always have been creative. Linden Lab at least understands that creativity is the basis for what made Second Life begin in the first place. I'm Jessica Lyon, Project Manager of the Phoenix Firestorm team, and you're listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Hello and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre, and yes, we are still on summer hiatus, but as you may have noticed, somebody has talked us into doing a live show at SL11B this past Sunday. And yes, we did. We complied, Joe and I. We had some great guests. We had a great time, and we'll play today the entire show on the podcast. Pretty much unedited, so there's a lot of ums and ahs, and there's some distorted sound, and we apologize for that. But it's the intention that counts, not necessarily the production values. Actually, both count. Be that as it may, you may have heard that Second Life is now 11 years old. It is still thriving. It's vibrant, despite what the mainstream press reports every day or not. Second Life is full of creativity. It's brilliantly showcased on those 11 birthday sims. But you may also have heard that after having effectively destroyed all virtual world competition in these past 11 years, anyone remember Google Lively or Twinity? Actually, Twinity is still around. Linden Lab is building a successor to Second Life. The cat is out of the bag. It's a world that, according to CEO Ebbe Alberg, is going to be better. It will have the same magic. The magic will be retained, but it will be better on many, many, many fronts. Ebbe went on the SL Universe forum. A brave man indeed. He dared to go there and faced all sorts of people, confused people, angry people. But he clarified a lot, so it's really worth, if you have the time, to plow through this thread. Naturally, our birthday live show centered around this news, but it's also quite wide-ranging discussion, including a lot of brainstorming about what can be done about the new user experience and so on and so forth. Our guests were Laws Hyde from Meshworks, Maxwell Graf from Rustica, Machinima maker Skyspinner Soulstar, who gave us this illuminating video about how dreadful the first SL moments can be for noobs. And of course, we had Fluffy on the panel, Machinima Megastar, and one of the first Mesh creatures to hit Second Life in 2011. Now, before we hit the play button on the taped show, which was well attended, and the discussion in chat was really great, and I just have to say thank you again for coming out and supporting the show. You can Skype us, Drax Files. You can email us, radio@draxfiles.com. You can get in touch with us in World Avatar Drax Files. That's how you get in touch. I get asked that on various occasions. How do I get in touch? We say it every week. You can support the show by taking out a voluntary subscription. Send us an IM, and we will send you a real nifty on-air sign and a vintage microphone that if you feed it $100 Linden per month for 4 to 5 shows, the on-air sign will light up and you have done something good. You supported this show. You can subscribe to the show on Stitcher, on iTunes. Please spread the word. And, I almost forgot. Our sponsor, SL Go, has a deal just for Second Life 11th birthday celebrations. Here's the deal. They're offering new users a promotional code they can use for 75% off the first month of their SL Go subscription. You combine that with the 7-day free trial, and you will get 5 weeks of SL Go for $250. That's the deal. The banner's on the right. You click it, and you can get that promotion. Now, on to the show, live from the tape, our show from June 22nd, a day before SL's 11th birthday, the official birthday birth date is the 23rd, as you know. We recorded at the auditorium at SL11B in voice, which worked great. But of course, the audio, like I said, is not as clean as you may have come to expect from this very show. Little distorted here and there, and some, talking on top of each other. I'm not going to name names. It's not my thing to play the blame game. Here's the show.
I'm joined on the stage by Joe Yardley, who just said I'm very loud. Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. You are a bit loud, but maybe that's just me. But your little green thingy above your head is getting red.
I'll turn it down a little bit. I'm completely jet lagged. I just flew from San Francisco to Munich, and while I was in transit, Joe, as you know, to the airport, I arrived at a cafe, Peter's Cafe in Millbrae, close to the San Francisco airport, and you had IM'd me that Linden has announced that Second Life 2.0 is in the works. So this changes the entire scheme for this show. We meticulously prepared this show with our great guests who will introduce themselves shortly. But Joe, what are we going to do today?
Well, I suggest we just drink all this absinthe and get drunk.
This thing works.
Fluffy!
Oh, God knows, found us.
Okay, Fluffy, please. I will introduce everyone properly. Please be quiet for now. We're doing the introductions. Joe, please continue. What is the show going to be about?
Well, I was thinking we just drink all this absinthe and get drunk and talk about the future and the past. But let's try and make a proper show and talk about the news, what's going on. I mean, it is kind of big, even though, of course, we've known for years that they've been talking about it and there's rumors everywhere. But now it's official and, about a year away. So that's kind of...
Actually, interesting enough, Joe, remember the episode I did with Rod Humble, and I did an interview that you completely transcribed. I did a 30-minute interview or so, and only 5 minutes went into this particular episode 7. And you transcribed the whole interview. And I think when you go back to your blog post, Rod says we have a big investment in virtual worlds, which is about 2 years out. And he said that 2 years ago. A year ago. And now, of course, Ebbe said... yesterday, 2 days ago, that we're a year out. But we'll talk about that. Let me quickly do a couple of housekeeping notes. So this is the Drax Files Radio Hour. As you guys may know, we're podcasting every Friday at 7 a.m. SLT. We have a new show. We're currently on summer hiatus, but the good folks at SL11B made us come out of our summer vacation home and join each other and the guests on stage. But during the summer hiatus, we still have shows every Friday at 7 a.m. And these are sort of canned shows. They call them evergreens. These are more in-depth conversations with interesting folks, and we might replay those. So while it's not live to tape, we are still on, and we're on today. Our show is on Stitcher. You can subscribe on Stitcher. You can subscribe on iTunes, or you don't have to subscribe, but subscribing is, I think, a great thing. We have a bunch of sponsors. We have sponsors on the SL Merchant level. If you're at SL Merchant, give me a ring or IM me, and I'll let you know how you can sponsor the show. SL Go is one of our sponsors, and they are offering a promotional code they can use today. And I think just for this week, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, 75% off the first month of their SL Go subscription. And you can combine that with the 7-day free trial, and you get 5 weeks of SL Go for $250.
Yeah, and there's one important thing about this deal is that even though they've said on their release that it is for Linden and for dollars and pounds, that doesn't mean that Europeans and people from all over the world can't enjoy this deal. You just have to pay with dollars or pounds, but it's open for everyone.
Absolutely. And Dennis Harper from SL Go will be on the show explaining why the service is still not available in Germany. It's actually very interesting. I talked with him yesterday. It's so complex. And
it's nothing personal.
No, it's not personal. That the fatherland is not served by the awesomeness of SL Go. There's really, e-commerce is not as easy as sometimes it feels when you order something on Amazon. It's quite complex. And there's other reasons, including some censorship issues that we'll delve into at another show in the future. Anyway, we have this beautiful donation kiosk here on stage as well. If you enjoy the Drax Files and if you want to show us your appreciation, donate anything that you can on this donation kiosk, or ask me, and you can get a donation kiosk. You can put it on your land. We have a voluntary subscription model where you can donate $100 Linden per month, which is $25 Linden per show. Okay. That's a ridiculously low amount for 1 hour of a little bit of me and a lot of Joe, right? And some cool guests. So if you don't like me, just think of it, hey, I'm doing this for Joe so that she can keep going and I don't fire her.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and so that I can afford my absinthe addiction. Thank you very much.
So we have a bunch of really cool guests today. And I would like the guests, please introduce yourselves. And we will take audience questions later on. We'll talk about a whole variety of issues. Audience questions, please IM me privately, or later we might open the floor also for voice. But we have to be a little disciplined so that it's not complete chaos. Maybe somebody.
Yeah, let's try discipline for a change.
Right. SL is known for people with a lot of discipline. So happy birthday, Second Life. And Max, to my left, introduce yourself, please. Who the hell are you? Why are you on stage today?
Hello, everybody. My name is Maxwell Graff. I have been the owner of Rustica in Second Life since 2007 as a full-time business owner here. And I have not started drinking yet, but I am properly medicated for someone in my demographic.
What is that demographic? A Volvo driver? Tell us about your Volvo, man. Oh, I see.
He has ailments.
Okay, Loz, please go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Loz Hyde from Meshworks, and also creator of Mesh Creative, or rather founder, I guess, of Mesh Creative as a group, a show group.
And then we have Fluffy here. Is Fluffy or Sky? Where are you, Fluffy? Fluffy, I don't see you. I just
Fluffy, I'm here. I'm here. You talked about micropayments. I'll even take nano payments. Believe me, Drax, I will speak for food. Which is strange, as I obviously have no mouth.
I've heard you do anything for money.
Fluffy, people may not know you. Could you just introduce yourself, please, and keep all this money stuff later in private? Who are you? What qualifies you for being on this show?
Who am I? Do people never watch your channel, Drax? What do you mean, who am I? I'm sorry, I don't mean to sit on your lap. Actually, I do. Okay.
Sit next to me. I still have some room.
Who am I? I am a cuddly, adorable pink creature with big ears and a heart as wide as all the grids that have ever been. I'm here because I had my own series, and I love Second Life. I was born in Second Life. Oh, I'm sorry, Laws, that your head in my head. That might be illegal. Okay, but anyway, that's who I am. Please watch Fluffy on a Mission. I've been in an undisclosed location, and if you want to know anything else about me, it's nanopayments. Nanopayments. Thank you.
Thank you, Fluffy. And somebody said Teletubby. I wouldn't repeat that, or Fluffy could get very mad.
I'm much cuter. I'm much cuter.
All right.
Google it.
Fluffy, we only have an hour plus a few minutes here and there, so let's be quiet here.
Can I ban him
Sky,
yet?
we can ban him anytime, Joe. Maybe we have to throw him out now. Sky Spinner, thank you for being on this panel. It's so great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do in Second Life?
Well, thank you. I'm Sky Spinner Soulstar. I create machinima here and generally keep busy in Second Life.
And Sky, of course. And Sky, you made this. Let me start with opening the panel here with you. You did a video where you kind of showed us all the horror. Should we have forgotten what the horror can be for a noob? Just coming into Second Life and going through the orientation experience.
Right. I made a new.
What made you do that? I mean, were you just hanging out and at the orientation experience and thinking, oh my God, I really got to kind of document this?
Well, I made a new avatar one day for one reason or another, possibly to act in one of my videos, and she got dropped into that on that beach. And I just stayed there for a while, watching and seeing what was happening. And I just thought, I have to record this. And so I did. I was there about an hour and a half just watching and seeing what was going on. Yeah. Got it on film.
Let me describe a little bit if folks haven't seen it. Give me a show of hands. Who has seen Sky Spinner's cringe-inducing video? It's really great, and I know a lot of people at Linden Lab also saw this, and it's so great that you did this to remind us how terrible it can be. I mean, you see people dropping in from the sky. You see, even worse to me was people wandering around seemingly forever
aimlessly.
And still not finding anything. Aimlessly, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that it has sparked some dialogue about all this.
Yeah.
Maybe improve the experience for new residents. Yeah.
Well, it scared a few people. I'm sure that the few Lindens went, oh my goodness. And, I haven't gone through that process myself for at least 2-3 years. So I had no idea that it was, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it had gotten worse.
Yeah. It seemingly got worse. Let's talk about the new user experience while we're at it. Max, what are your thoughts on the new user experience? Have you seen Sky Spinner's the new video?
I have not seen the new video. I'm going to definitely check it out as soon as we get out of here, though. It sounds interesting. User experience, right?
It's so terrible. I mean, it's been around for, right. I mean, we're now in year 11, right? And it seems to be such a difficult thing to solve. What should we do, Max?
It's such a weird problem to tackle because this is all still, I mean, it's old hat to us, but it's such a new technology in general that really is still not mainstream after all these years of being here. And, I've heard the term in a couple of different discussions called the golden hour. And it's sort of like everybody that comes in here and manages to stay seems to have had this sort of one experience at some point that the light bulb went off and they had this, where the virtual reality was crossed over by they made a human connection at some level, whether it's emotional or whatever, social, and it had changed them. And I think when you see the potential of this in that first kind of golden experience or whatever, trapping that and being able to sort of provide it for everybody is really where the trick comes into play. How do we get that to happen? How do we give people that first opportunity to really go, wow, I get it now. You can do freaking anything here.
Right.
Yeah, that is the most important thing. You have to find something that you like. You have to find a place where you like the people, you like the location, or you get inspired to go and do something yourself. And
or a friendly person to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to try and get new people to that space as soon as possible, because even if you think it's laggy and it's all really stupid and you don't understand anything of how it works, the second you find a place that you like, you think, I want to come back here.
Right, but I mean, they tried to solve this with this sort of rotundra, with the different portals where you go through and you choose music. So that obviously is not good enough to select people, or self-selecting, so people can choose what their main interest is, and then go through these portals.
it's got to be worth it. It really has to be worth it. And other people, and what you can see here, what you can do here, what you can wear here, makes it worth it.
Well, what are you saying, Fluff? You put a hair store right in the orientation experience, or what?
No.
I make an improvement in my outfit experience, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, okay? So I'm just going with what I can do.
Loz, I was wondering, you and also Max and other merchants, Loz, do you have any data, or do you analyze the data of folks who go to your store? How old they are? Have they been in world data? What's the sort of ratio of people that are older versus newer? And how would you say the lack of a good orientation experience that sort of funnels people to the likes of you and makes it easy to enjoy it is impacting your business?
That's a good question. We do have methods of like seeing who's been to the store. Sometimes we occasionally look at those avatars to see how old they are, how long they've been on the grid. Yeah, I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to tell the truth. What do you think about Max?
Well,
I'm going to pause up to Max because I'm not really.
But then let me ask also: did the business decline? Let's tie it in with business. I mean, I'm sure it can't be good if we're at a status right now where apparently 400,000 people sign up to SL and then stick around for 1 to 3 minutes and then never go back in and never shop or never do anything.
That happened to me actually. I came in 8 years ago and I was in here for about a month. Couldn't stand it, but that was 8 years ago. And I left for 3 years and came back, completely different SL. So I've only been back in for 3-4 years now, and I noticed a huge difference, mind you, when I came back in, and I also had met someone offline that was in world, and that's one reason why I came back in, and she kind of showed me around, and that really helped to have someone that I knew help me around. Maybe that's part of a good thing to do, maybe to know people that know people,
That's what happened to my mom. Mm-hmm. That's what happened to my mom. She came in November of 2006, Pookie. Couldn't move, left her avatar at the parking lot at Best Buy, and didn't come back until November of, March of 2008, but with a mission and a mission. And obviously I had to be born. So the rest is history.
Well, I've had the same actually. I mean, when I first joined Second Life 2007, I absolutely hated it. Within a couple of days, I decided I'm never ever going to return to this weird world. And then in 2009, I did, and only because I found a place that I found interesting, where I thought, hang on. This I want to come back here. That's the only reason that I'm here, and I've been here pretty much every day for the last 5 years. So it's that is the most important step for a new user, to find a place.
Pretty much the same with me.
Yeah, Sky, go ahead. Share with us your story.
Well, it's pretty much the same with me. My first avatar I made, it was it was January 2008, and I came in a few times and I just never really figured out what to do. And I didn't come back again until much later that year when I discovered something that was going to be happening that sounded interesting to me, actually related to my job. So I came, my first avatar had been erased. So I made a new avatar and came back in, and this group had a little orientation section set up and people to talk to, and gave me landmarks and asked me what I was interested in, and immediately I was here every day from then on. I think that personal connection just makes all the difference.
I think so. That's what people always say. I want to pick up really briefly here. There's a lot of really interesting comments in the chat, and Barbie Alchemy from Creations for Parkinson says that Firestorm has a better orientation, and so does Virtual Ability Island. I completely agree. The Virtual Ability Island orientation experience, and there's others that could really serve as a fairly straightforward model to Linden Lab.
Maybe. Sorry, maybe also social media might be a good way. Facebook and other places where possibly people may have heard of Second Life but have not been in yet. Maybe somehow introduced to it. Also introduce it through friends from Facebook, for instance.
That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do.
That's how I do it. I mean, I've lured a few of my friends through Facebook because I've decided not to be in a virtual closet, and I started posting pictures of my Second Life adventures. And because 99% of all my friends are obsessed with history, they got interested when I posted pictures of historical Sims and of my adventures in 1920s Berlin. And that's how I bring them to Second Life. And the first thing I do is say, skip all the tutorials and all the, wherever they sent you, come over to Berlin and I'll put you in a skybox and we'll take some time and figure it out, because everything else is, a mess.
Yeah, I come from sorry.
No, go ahead, Los.
I come from a different place because I do this for a living in real life as well. I work on films and for 3D stuff, and so a lot of my friends, I'm a huge advocate for Second Life, love it, and whenever I go on a new job and meet people, modeling and stuff and whatever, we talk about, I take this new virtual world, this amazing virtual world, and I get them involved because of that, because they want to create and find another outlet possibly for creating, and also to make maybe a little bit of money too. So it's a couple of different reasons they come into Second Life. So a couple of my friends have done it for that reason.
Los, this is really great that you bring this up, because this is something I wanted to talk about as well. I wanted to ask all the panelists and also folks in the audience, how do you promote Second Life in your circle of friends and family and acquaintances and colleagues? I mean, I know quite a few people who just say, I don't talk about it anymore because I'm just so tired of the eye rolling and the blank stares that I just sort of keep it to myself. I happen to be more along the lines of you, Joe, and Laws, that I just am sort of a screaming billboard 24/7. I was just checking out at the hotel with my T-shirt that Bacon Linden gave me. Will work for Linden Dollars, one of those original merchandise things, which I, by the way, think Linden Lab should bring back merch.
You
in a mean way. No, I mean, I'm serious.
You're selling yourself in public again, are you?
No. For example, this shirt will work for Linden Dollars. $L is a great conversation starter. And I go to Costco with it. And let me just give you a random example. The girl behind the counter says, well, I'm trying to figure out your T-shirt. And then I start a conversation. I talk about, well, this is a virtual world. You do things. You can monetize your creativity, blah, 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 blah. And she never heard of it. She happens to be someone who doesn't play other video games, because I said, do you play video games? Tried to explain it in that avenue. So I happen to be, like you, Joe, very sort of public about my quote-unquote obsession with Second Life. But I want to hear from the other folks. Max, how about you? Have you just... where do you stand? Have you given up with your friends? Don't approach it because it just devolves
well,
into
you get to a point where you realize that I'm never ever going to get this person to log into SL. If you know them at all, they're either going to come check it out, or they're interested, or they're like, yeah, that's great. And how about those Mets? And they like the eye rolls sometimes, whatever. You know what, that person is never going to come here. And I mean, I still talk to a lot of people, particularly when you're first meeting someone out somewhere and they're like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I understand you do this, and what do you do? Well, I make furniture that doesn't really exist, and I sell it to people that don't exist, they're not really people, but they are, and they're talking to me, but they don't look like people, but, and then quickly they go, okay, how about those Mets? And
thank you.
I've lost dates on this subject.
Well, they're lost.
But I still try, and every other person is really, oh, that sounds cool. I heard about that, or so and so knew about that and told me it, and blah blah blah.
It has a bit of a weird stigma too to it. Whenever I've talked to people that have heard about Second Life, they always think about, they talk about the sex aspect of it or something. I'm like, it's not all about sex.
Media.
It's really about a community and all the rest of it. And you have to kind of explain the whole thing out. And
but guys, we
Second
all
Life
know this,
does have a really bad reputation, but I do think that this is changing because the reputation is slowly fading away. The old news stories. I've met people who've never even heard of Second Life, so they're not tainted by the old stories yet. And because of the Oculus Rift and all the news that virtual reality is causing at the moment, more and more people, are getting interested in at least the subject. And if you now say, instead of trying to explain that you work in Second Life, you say you work with virtual reality, people are suddenly going, oh.
But I also really
mess with people and tell them something that's obviously misleading. Like, yeah, I have I work there full time and with my pimp orc paladin, and I you totally throw them off.
I want to hear Fluffy's take on this. What do you think?
All right. Well, basically, I have no friends because they all got sold on Marketplace. But I don't really want everyone in Second Life. Yes, actually, I need something on my iPhone that does that. If you want to follow me around and do the bada bing, I love it.
Fluffy, for example,
I really want people who get it, but let me tell you something. Okay. What does impress people are certain things like Relay for Life. The American Cancer Society actually has raised over $1 million US. People wake up at that 7-figure number. Or I say something like, Stiletto Moody made over $1 million USD selling virtual shoes. I talk about virtual goods. I talk about how that's aspirational, and people begin to get it within that context. Yes, thank you.
They do actually, very right.
At the end of my time, I'm going to mute.
Every person has this interest to have this little switch that if you can find it and you can switch it, push their button, they become interested in Second Life. For me, I'm very shallow. I only care about history. I don't care about shopping. I don't care about fashion. I don't care about hair or shoes.
That's terrible, Joe. You're not going to really stimulate the economy that way. But
I stimulate the 1920s economy in Second Life pretty well, I reckon. But for me, the second I fell in love with Second Life was when I realized that I could use or even abuse this modern technology, which I generally sort of hate. I don't even have a mobile phone. That I can use this technology to do a bit of time travel, and that's history is the only reason I'm here. And for other people, that may be shoes, it may be fashion design, it may be a Relay for Life. It's something different for everyone. And I still think, even though people keep saying that we are a niche product, I still think that almost everyone has this subject that if you find it, you can lure them into Second Life.
I agree, yeah. I think Second Life is the beta for the future for a lot of people in real world going to work.
And I want to give Sky the floor. I want to hear about, Sky, how do you deal with either holding this back for yourself or propagating this outward, your love and your passion with the world. I just wanted to add, and I've said this on the podcast many times, I bump into people all the time, and I live very close to Silicon Valley, and I bump into, this is very anecdotal, quote-unquote research, but I bump into people daily almost who have never heard of Second Life. So they don't have a negative or a positive association.
Yeah, that's both
with
a good and a bad thing.
Exactly. So it actually is, in the sense for marketing, it opens, you're not tied to the flying penis incident necessarily. But anyway, Sky, what do you think?
When the new Second Life comes, when the sequel comes, that means we can start, we can start from scratch even better.
Oh.
Because nobody's going to have heard of that.
Of course not. Not with mesh technology, anyway.
It will be much more realistic-looking mesh penises flying everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this?
As Abby says, even better.
keeping SL private, or are you annoying your friends with it?
Oh, I do talk about it, and I post pictures. I take a lot of snapshots here in SL, and sometimes I'll post them on my Facebook page. and people will ask me, and I'll tell them about it. I have brought a couple of friends in, and at work I talk about it with people. I work with very creative people, so I talk to them about how this is all created by people. I think it's amazing what the residents create here.
Absolutely.
It certainly is. And I love to go to live music shows, and so I try to explain how that works, which is very hard to get across to people. But yeah, and I also have had the opportunity to meet some of my Second Life friends out in the world, which I think is wonderful too. It's a great way to meet people from all over.
Absolutely. Maybe they bring the community convention back. I was going to add again, Sky, what you also showed in your noob video is, I think, the conundrum here that I tried with my video series, obviously, to really put the emphasis on the fact that everything is user-created, because I think that's the biggest problem. And, Loz, I also want to hear your opinion about it, because when you're working with professionals in the creative field, I see a lot of very arrogant statements. Oops, Loz just crashed. But Sky, also to you that question, I get the sense that creative folks often have an extremely arrogant opinion about Second Life. They basically say, this is a nice playground for amateurs. Let them have their little playground, but we are pros. We use whatever game design engine or something like that. You ever get that?
I haven't had that reaction. As a matter of fact, just last week I was sharing some snapshots with one of the people I work with, and I noticed in the local chat there's somebody mentioned the graphics, and he said, "Wow, that looks great. I didn't think it would look that good."
Yeah, that is one of the misconceptions that we as Second Life users can quite easily fight by simply sharing some of the amazing screenshots, and that makes a huge impression, because I think we've all heard it. Second Life has awful graphics, and you just share one picture and that's the end of that story.
Absolutely. And Joe, you have a Flickr group, and we have a tag. We have SL Looks Good today on Twitter sometimes, and also, Joe, let me just say this real quick. Joe, you encourage people often to upload stuff on Wikimedia, so the Wikimedia comments that journalists who are sometimes, let's not say they're lazy. They're under the gun. There's always a deadline looming, and when they Google Second Life and they get images from 2007. They just put them in an article, and that's just terrible. And we can all really make a difference by just really flooding the internets with really good material. Because
it is unbelievable that even today you can get. What?
What do you say, Fluffy?
I said you mean flooding the internet with good material and good things about Second Life instead of some of the whining that actually comes from residents and the constant criticism. I have to say, I think that some of the people from Second Life who are here all the time are not kind or generous about the grid. Their experiences, of course, are very high level. They understand what's going on, but as it's represented to the rest of the world, I gotta say, a lot of people do the image of Second Life a lot more harm than good.
Oh my God, Fluffy, are you suggesting that there are residents who are whining about stuff that is going on and sort of
I am.
Yeah?
I'm whining, and I'll continue whining.
The number of
24-hour days.
The number of creators that you mentioned a minute ago, Drax, about how there's kind of a we're the professionals and let them amateurs have their playtime on the grid, and I really, my general experience with that community of other designers in here has been that they're actually really eager to be a part of that, and actually a lot more open and responsive to trying to help other people learn what they know here than just about any other place I've been to.
Max, real quick, I think you may have
huge growth in the number of people that have gone from having almost no computer graphic skills at all to really being, on a semi-pro or pro level by the time they've kind of reached a maximum potential in SL as well, just by being here.
No, absolutely. Don't misunderstand. I hope I'm not misunderstood on that point, because what I was saying is other people from outside. I work with people also as an audio guy. I work in audio post-production, and so I have discussions with people in the film industry and animators and designers, and I talk about these guys. They look at Second Life and go, yeah, that's where the amateurs sort of congregate. And I find that incredibly arrogant, because...
Well, to be honest, most of us in Second Life are.
Yeah, but let me finish this point.
It's a good starting point.
I think it's important to first of all, it's how you define amateur. And for me, this is an incredibly positive term. And the fact that Second Life has democratized these creation tools with prim building and everything that is available in here is just absolutely marvelous. Not only on a building or scripting level, but on all the levels. And to dismiss this makes me personally really mad. And I had quite some screaming matches with people who I deem extremely arrogant on the subject matter, and it's terrible. What is the problem when creation tools? Why is this a problem when creation tools are being democratized? It's a problem for people who are afraid that now all of a sudden people are playing at the table and the playing field is leveled, and maybe these people have something valid to say too. And I think that's great.
It feels more like Etsy than Amazon. You know what I mean? As far as it's like there's really cool things being made here. Check this out.
That's exactly how I see it. Exactly. Good point, Max. That's exactly what it is.
But this is not just happening with Second Life. It's it's everywhere. People are 3D printing. Amateurs are taking over the world. Look at YouTube. There's this guy who's he's 21 and he's making $1 million a year by making a little video show about computer games. I mean, he makes more than a lot of television producers.
Yeah, okay, but my opinion on that one, that's garbage.
I might have missed the...
Doesn't matter what you think of it. The fact is that amateurs are, taking over.
Discipline, my friends. Laws first, and then floppy.
Sorry, I crashed when you probably asked the question, so I'm coming in kind of understanding what you're talking about.
That doesn't matter. My wife never knows what I'm talking about. So,
I'm a professional. I'm a professional, model builder and texture rendering, all that kind of stuff. Like I was saying before. But what I get out of Second Life is the immersiveness of it. I'm not sure that's the same on the same vein as what you're talking about. There are images in here, but there are images in here. A lot of people that have now been introduced into Mesh, which I think is a wonderful thing because they can take that into the real world as maybe new job opportunities, learning, whether they're learning Max, Maya, or even Blender. So I don't know if that answers any of the questions, but...
No, this is... Let me follow this up, but picking up on the immersive factor, an upcoming episode for August, which is with... editorial clarity from Love to Design magazine, which is a great episode. It's already in the can, but I'm going to release it on August 1st. And he talks a lot about...
I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. I have the attention span of a gnat.
I know. But anyway, editorial clarity says in that episode, he doesn't understand why Second Life is not being used by interior designers or other people in that profession, because it is so cool that you can walk around in it, that you can be there together. You can
It would be
something I said.
Exactly.
Is no
many applications, I think.
I've used it for real life work as well. Not very often, but I've made designs for exhibits in museums to show them what I could do and what I was planning to build in their museum, and they were quite impressed. And this is something that I could build in Second Life in one afternoon, and that looked like it was done in a proper museum exhibit design sort of software, which I can't afford anyway.
I just miss being in-world building at all. There's so much of the time is spent outside of SL now, doing the process that I have to go through in order to produce something, and it's really, I miss that.
I built all my mesh in world, and I hope that Second Life 2.0 will eventually have some sort of in-world sort of Blender sort of mesh building software, because I would miss that as well.
Pretty vast, isn't it, though, to try and create mesh in the way that you do it in, say, Blender or another 3D app?
Well, the way I do it is very simple. I just build it with prims, push a button, and I get the DA file. Yeah, it's easy. It's seconds work.
I think, Joe, what you're suggesting, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, we'll start speculating about SL 2.0, what it means, the slip of the tongue, as it seems to me. Well, we can speculate if that way will be planned or not. But I also see, because, Max, you're making a great point, the collaborative building is so powerful and such a unique aspect of Second Life that one hopes, if it's feasible at all technically, that SL 2.0 might have the same with mesh, that we can build mesh.
A perfect example. The very last day Cloud Party was open, I did the voxel tools in there I used to build the basic shell shape and outline and like windows and doors of a house layout. Exported that as a mesh and brought it in here and continued to work on it in Studio Max, and now going to have a house in here out of it. But the whole idea that I could be, even over in Cloud Party, standing inside of the build and working on it while I was in it is such a different experience from any of the really super advanced 3D programs. And it's really transformative. I mean, aside from the obvious, like, you could get a better representation of scale and, I want the ceiling higher or this hallway's too narrow or whatever. You can make those kind of on-the-fly adjustments. And it really is something that's missing from modern building tools in here.
I think we're preaching to the choir. I get reminded of a conversation I had with a friend in London who is an architect, and I talked to him about Second Life, and he goes, "Oh, interesting! I didn't know you can do this stuff." And I go like, "Well, how do you guys do it? With your international team?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're sending these models back and forth." And I go, "Are you kidding me? You don't do anything real time?" "Yeah, sometimes we're on Skype discussing the models." And I was like,
"Amazing, isn't it?
Christ, give me a break." This is a really big firm, by the way. They build big things. But anyway, Sorry, Joe. Last word on this, and I want to move on a little bit.
I have that with so many people, that these misconceptions about Second Life. A friend of mine is a furniture designer. She shows me the software she uses to design furniture, and then how she sends screenshots to the guy who wants her to build those things. And I'm telling her, listen, you can build that in Second Life right away. He can come online, you can walk around it, you can put a script in it so he can sit on it, he can put it in his living room, etc., 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 and people have no idea.
This is what I'm saying about it being the beta of the future.
Yeah.
So I think it will start to go that direction with many different aspects.
We're at 11 years. Are we not 11 years old? And I hear people say, I know Loki's in the audience here, and I almost anticipate him typing something like, well, SL is 11 years old, and why is it still the future? Why do people still don't get it,
We're still pioneers. Look at virtual reality. It's 30 years old, and it's only
Well, maybe we're delusional.
Well, that as well. But, virtual reality is finally growing up slowly, and that's taken 30 years. I mean, we're still pioneers.
Well, let's talk about this. And sorry, before we do this, Sky, I'm sorry. Are people talking too much? You've been a little quiet. You want to chime in with something? I'm sorry. I tend to just talk over people. I apologize.
I'll just slap him.
I'm not a builder, but I do love to landscape and decorate my houses. So I appreciate the work you all do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all.
Fluffy is back. I was going to ask Fluffy about his experience of being a really, really successful machinima series, and another example of how you can actually create a brand in Second Life, own this brand, and then try to monetize it, which I don't think you can do it this extensively anywhere else for now. But I think he's just rezzing. Let's move to the next subject here. And I want to ask the same question, making the rounds. Second Life 2.0, let's just call it that for now, was announced by Ebbe yesterday. The day. What is today? Sunday. I was on the plane. I don't know what day it is. Friday. that Linden Lab is building something that is better, that is in the spirit of Second Life, has the magic of Second Life, but is better all around every single aspect. And it's a year out.
Let's just call it a sequel.
The sequel, SL2, and now Ebbe was answering questions on the forums, and he really chimed in. A lot of people talked about. I hear people being very enthusiastic about it, but also what I hear is, wow, isn't that stupid to announce it now? Because now everybody kind of will pull out and wait for the thing, and then SL will collapse and all that. What do you guys think?
Was it an accident?
Well, we don't know that. We can speculate endlessly if that announcement was in fact.
It does seem a bit like
hold
it.
Back. I understand from
Life.com.
Pete Linden sent me an email saying that Ebbe has been talking to press. I assume some of these articles will come out next week, and he hinted at that Ebbe was talking about it to the press, so he felt it was okay also to talk about the community. But I want to know from the panel, what do you think, just in terms of, is this in general a smart idea when something is that far away? I mean, it's not even alpha right now. To announce it, is it bad, or is it good, or does it matter? Max,
They've got some pretty good facial features now. I think
Fluffy,
they have
your turn.
I'm sorry. I'm going on you.
Not your turn.
Hey, Fluffy can always go before me.
I'll call his mom. I'll call your mom, Fluffy.
He's my hero.
By the way, if you don't know who Fluffy is, okay, Google Fluffy right now, or go to youtube.com/thesuperfluffy and watch all his videos.
Don't tell our listeners and viewers to go
not
do
right
something
now.
else.
No. Yeah, crap.
God, you're such an amateur.
I'm such an amateur. Wow, wait a minute. We are in the kingdom of amateurs. Why would I be a pro?
You noob.
Wait,
Anyway,
Internet 101.
Max.
Never put a button on your page that redirects them to another website.
Right.
Ever.
Apropos button, right-click the banner and support this show. If you're having a good time, come on. Throw us a couple of Linden so we can live. All right, go ahead, Max. Do you think this was a slip of the... Do you think it was stupid to announce SL 2.0 at this juncture?
You know, I think it was not necessarily that the repercussions weren't being considered, but I think he did it simply because he's already got a couple of articles coming out in another couple of days on this, and he figured, what the heck, I'm here, I may as well, you know, the cat's already out of the bag, so to speak, in the press. Let me go ahead and talk to the developer meeting about it as well. I don't think he really thought ahead of time about what's going to happen, but I think, I think in the end, it's a bit of exciting news in a rather drab PR landscape lately, if you will. You know what I mean?
I think it's great news. It gives us hope that there's something else around the corner, especially things like maybe a new avatar and, you know, other cool things.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
I definitely think my overall reaction
to
it is that it's fantastic news and long overdue, and the best way to address some of the problems that we have here and have had for a long time in terms of the architecture and all of that.
It shouldn't affect any of our mesh stuff. I mean, we use the mesh the same way in any of the game engines.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know
it might
that
mean a
for
re-import
sure
possibly.
yet.
Yeah, but mesh is mesh. You may have to re-import it possibly, but you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, if we can actually import import all the mesh stuff from Second Life, then it's not going to be a massive problem for most of us. But they have to confirm that. We really want to know that for sure, to be honest.
That's right.
I could bet we're probably going to...
Max,
go ahead. Sorry, Drax.
No, you though. I'm just the moderator. Who cares? No, I'm serious. Max, go ahead.
I think we're probably got a good chance of seeing like a voxel building tool, in-world building tool there, and
that would be fantastic.
Certainly mesh. I think some combination of those. But you know, starting any kind of a starting over process in this virtual world scenario is really a scary thing, and a lot of people are reluctant to, I don't want to leave my inventory. I've spent a bunch of money here, and I don't want to have to build everything all over again and all that. But honestly, in the couple of times I've branched out and tried some other places, like the open source grids and the Blue Mars and Cloud Party and that, it really was kind of an enjoyable thing to be able to start from scratch. It really ends up being a fun adventure again.
It has a good and bad sides. I mean, no matter how you turn it, I will have to rebuild my entire city, and the idea of that alone is going to give me sleepless nights. And of course, all our shops
isn't that the fun part of this?
But
isn't that the part we love?
I'm sorry. This may not be the same thing. Let me make two quick points here to Max. First of all, that it's a drab news cycle right now with Second Life. I beg to differ just a little bit because I like the new website design. I like the partnership that they have with me. It's all about me. No, it's not. But
I don't really like the website, but I love the video.
Right, but also that they announced Oculus compatibility, and they're sort of aggressively positioning themselves, or trying to, with the new VR crowd, the 20-year-old VR people. But let's remind ourselves that we don't know that. We don't know anything, but we also don't know if maybe there will be a way to export things efficiently into this new world when it comes online. Maybe even the way buildings are distributed on a landscape. Maybe the
I think the buildings will stay the same though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, let's say, Joe has rebuilt 1920s Berlin, and I can see that might be a nightmare how to put these buildings back.
Is it in prims or mesh?
I'm in the process of meshing everything, so I'd say it's about 50-50.
And I think you can export your prims anyway now if you own them using Firestorm to your computer, so you could have a head start at least with size and scale and stuff of things.
Yeah, probably. But
go on. Sorry.
It's so early. We don't know anything about Second Life 2 yet. How they're going to build it, what the tools are going to be.
Right, but if you look at any game engine, most of them are using Collada to import or OBJs, but mainly Collada. It's all working the same way. We may have more materials possibly, which would just mean having a larger menu set. Gosh, I hope they'll have shaders, which would be fantastic. So you can actually create a shader network and then apply that to different mesh pieces instead of having to rebuild it every time you have a mesh, item. But
okay. Let's look at what's out there currently. I mean, it's not going to be difficult for them to take any number of the technologies that exist that didn't exist 10 years ago and make something that's very similar to SL but better. It wouldn't be that far of a stretch.
Loki just said something very interesting. I hope you don't mind me just throwing that in. He said, if I had tools that allow me to create easier, more detailed 1920s Berlin, would you rather rebuild it from scratch or import the old city? Which is a good question, but to be honest, I would rather import the old Berlin first and then slowly replace bits of it with the new system. Because I have a city. It is a busy community. I think we've got almost 100 tenants in one single region living together. If my sim was closed for a week, there'd be riots in the streets and people getting on a plane to Amsterdam and banging on my door and telling me to bring them back their city. Probably not, but
the stalkers. I have to deal with them too.
So
now you have time to rebuild it as soon as you know in advance it's going to happen.
Well, yeah, a bit. But to be honest, when we're going to move, I want Berlin to be open and up and running as soon as possible. And then once that's sorted, I'll probably start rebuilding the entire city for the third time, because I had to do that when Mesh came as well. Oh,
I would like to talk a little bit more about... you guys are all builders. You're making tons of dough with your building, your pros, and you don't really interact with the people. Yeah. You don't really care. You people are just there to sell units and to look at their spreadsheet and how much money you make. But I want to talk with the audience and Sky also. What is important to you, Sky, when you think about a new Second Life? let me ask you, when would you move? What does have to be in place for you to leave this world and go to the next? And let me say, for me, it's people and stories. I used to get inquiries from Twinity. I don't know if anybody knows Twinity here in the audience. It's still around. Twinity is a virtual world run out of Berlin, and they asked me to come in there and do machinima and stories. And I said, well, you don't have any people. You don't have any stories. Why would I come in? So for me personally, it's the people and their stories that are compelling that I need to tell.
That's
not
true.
Necessarily, it's not to me. I'm just talking about. I want to know individually about you guys. What is important to you, Sky? What is important to you? What's the most important thing? Is it the eye candy? Is it the mesh? Is it the people? Or is it both?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the people. If I enjoy the community here, the social life, all the gatherings and the music.
Right.
And yeah, I'd say in order for me to go somewhere else, most of my friends would have to be there too. Or at least a lot of people to meet new friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the main reason I'm in Second Life to begin with. There are people here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fluffy, in just a sec, I know your answers are so lengthy. That's why I have to kind of put you on the back burner. Let me.
I have something fast to say.
Okay, let's say it. 2 sentence max. Go ahead.
I find that, of course, it's the people, and they're older, and that they're not younger, and I think I figured out why. Because when you're 19 or 20, you think the whole world is open in front of you. Anything is possible. By the time you're 50 years old, you understand you're never going to fly in real life. So Second Life becomes a little more interesting and exciting for people who are older, who really want to make something happen that they know can happen.
Are you calling us
life.
old?
Are you calling us old, Fluffy?
Who's old?
I'm not that old.
I was born old.
I'm just saying that there are a lot of older people here, and I think it's because they understand what the possibilities are that maybe people who are younger don't know the limitations of yet.
Back in my day, we only had one kind of prim, a box, and we were glad to have it.
We used to live in a hole in the middle of the road. You were lucky.
Lucky, I don't know why they don't put your videos on the
Get off of my lawn, you kids.
Damn pistol kids.
Sky, let me ask you a follow-up question, because there's something also that fascinates me. I've seen people feel incredibly immersed. I've seen people have an incredible attachment to their avatars, and they don't necessarily have a really, really good current computer. They are completely fine and content with Second Life running in not the most optimal way. I've seen it myself, and it's, to me, fascinating. So, and oftentimes I hear with the young crowd, especially obviously with the gamer crowd, they're so sort of obsessed with the eye candy that they can't accept anything that is not like, ooh, look at this. It looks like Spider-Man 5. But what is your experience? I mean, does it matter to you if, do you look at the frame rates and go like, oh shit, this is only 15? That sucks, my experience. I mean,
I do. I appreciate that everything looks beautiful, and I have my setting graphics on high and my draw distance out, and I have to admit I bought a super duper computer to handle Second Life and the machinima, and that was an investment I made because I enjoy being here and doing things in Second Life.
Right. No, I understand.
Back in my day, we only got one frame, and it was made out of mahogany, and it was around a picture hung on the wall. That's all
and you just looked at it all day long.
And we were happy.
I think the boost that Joe put out is slowly taking effect.
And to get to a sim, we had to walk through the rain for hours, and we didn't mind.
It was uphill both ways.
Well,
you were lucky.
Max, I'd love to hear you sing I Did It My Way.
I did it my way.
Not you, Drax.
Oh. Who?
Oh God, who's the
boy.
absinthe here? Stop drinking the absinthe and concentrate, for God's sake.
Let me throw this out here. Now that we know
medication.
Now that we know that Linden Lab is not over and Second Life is not over, obviously not. I mean, I think that is just. I mean, okay. I'm disciplining myself not to go on a rant.
Crazy
right.
Jam.
I'm gonna get to the point. Well, I tend to enjoy the now, and I can enjoy the now while at the same time not ignore the future. And it's marvelous what people do today in Second Life. Every day is a revelation, and it's amazing. That's not to say one should ignore the future. Let's talk about the future. What do you guys think is Linden Lab's position in this race? Because it is a race to build the metaverse. I was at the Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference. Moderated a panel there, and obviously the big player is Facebook. We don't know what they're building. Will they build a Facebook world where the Facebook model is applied to their version of the metaverse with data mining and advertisement and everything? And then there's of course High Fidelity. And now there's Linden
Yes,
Lab.
we're going to have to be sponsored by some nice lady for 9 months before we can get born into a virtual world. That's going to be the next thing.
Fluffy, you're the best. Fluffy, thank you so
You have
much
to
for
be carried
being
to
on this
virtual
panel.
term.
It's funny. Whenever I try and explain Second Life to people, I always say it's like Facebook, virtually though, because it's a community where you have avatars though. Because it's the only way I can kind of ever explain it. I mean, the community as being friends that we meet, new people and so on, just like Facebook.
I think
but
it's a good
virtual
way
world of that.
I think that's a good starter for people who have issues kind of visualizing what it is. On the other hand, I would then, of course, add right away that the power and the agency we have over our identity is, of course, huge versus Facebook, which forces us to be this one person and to kind of cookie cutter put us in that box. My dad, who's 74, said when I first introduced him to Second Life, he said to me, "Wow, this is like ham radio with visuals," because he used to be a ham radio guy and he just loved to go on the radio and just put the call out, and then people from Russia or France or whoever came in, random people, and they tried to find some common ground and had a conversation. So again, I mean, obviously Second Life is something for everyone. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's a done deal with the race? Do you think Facebook will swallow us all, or the Facebook metaverse?
We have to stop equating, Facebook with as if Facebook was social. There are social aspects to Facebook and there are social aspects to Second Life. But I think the general experience that you have on Facebook and what you go there for is a very different thing than what most of us are in a virtual world doing. Yeah, there are social elements of it, and I'm sitting here having a conversation with, people from all over the world, and that's great, but it's a very different thing, and I think you come to it expecting a different experience. You want something different out of it. So I don't see Oculus and Facebook really being in the lead. I think they're going to be a segment of kind of a resurgence of virtual reality again. It's already, been so overhyped, but I think they're going to deliver on the hardware side. Them and PlayStation Sony has their virtual headset that's already ahead of the Oculus in terms of the specs and what you can do with it and stuff. But virtual world wise, you got to have somewhere to go with that headset. And I think that in that department, the lab is well ahead of everybody.
Yeah,
we got 11 years of it already. 11 years of community, and this is the interesting. And this is the other thing about all of this. Remember that it's the residents that build Second Life. Can you imagine people from Facebook, how they're going to try and do this? If they're going to do this at all? We have a head lead of 11 years of doing this stuff.
The problem is that we have no idea what they're doing.
That's right. We have no
we shoot
idea.
ourselves in the foot talking about how awful it is with the Oculus Rift. But, remember, there are a lot of people who are not ready for their Facebook account either. And what's going to happen is one day everyone having an avatar will be as ubiquitous. Which means we'll be everybody doing it, as having a Facebook account. I also think there's going to be greater interoperability, and that will add to what we can do.
Fluffy's all again kind of stabbing the whiners, right? Are you saying that some people have said that Second Life with Oculus looks terrible? I've read those too. I think it's ridiculous. When I put the Oculus on, it was kind of a mind-boggling experience to see my avatar. And
it's the Oculus that looks terrible, not Second Life. I mean,
does anybody want to spend an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours, as most of us do in here, wearing a brick strapped to your head?
No. It should be. That's a good point. It should be. You should be optional, and you still have an immersive experience even if you don't have it on. But that's also not the end game. I mean, the Oculus looks clunky now. Who knows when contact lenses are going to be there or whatever.
Well, I know. I've worn it for 2 hours without too much problems.
Yeah.
I rather enjoyed it. Didn't weigh very much. And of course, we are still talking about the developer's kit number 1. To me, the only reason I wasn't wearing it more often was that it doesn't look very good. Because of the old tech sets, the new one is going to be much better looking. And, I spend most of my time building, and with the Oculus, that just isn't very easy. I wore it during a happy hour in 1920s Berlin, standing behind the bar, and it was fantastic. Talking to people, looking around, getting their faces really up close.
Fluffy is saying something in text quite interesting. Things that aren't mesh really stand out, and they look really bad. That is certainly true. I want to say one thing to the Facebook thing real quick. Sky, are you trying to say something? I see your waves coming on.
No, sorry.
No, you can. I apologize. I'm drunk on absinthe.
Are you drunk again?
Facebook is so bent on their on the commercial aspect.
Exactly.
That I have a hard time imagining how they would set up a virtual world for us.
There's one thing that we have to remember is that that the people behind this Facebook Oculus deal, are not just Facebook people. There's people involved who've worked for Second Life, people who are working right now for the Oculus, who know quite a lot about 3D situations, and if the right people are hired to help them build this thing, it might actually turn out to be something none of us can even imagine right now. So I'm not going to say right now that the Facebook thing is something that we can completely ignore. We just have to go away and see what they're going to build. It could be anything. We have no idea.
I don't think we can ignore it, because I was just going to really quickly and then move on to a different topic. Max and Ross, to what you said. My worry, and also Sky, my worry really is that Facebook has, Linden Lab has a lot of expertise with Second Life, how to run a very diverse community with tons of cultures and subcultures. Plus, they have the whole e-commerce thing down, frankly, with the Linden dollar, with microtransactions at that volume. Despite all the problems, it's pretty remarkable what system they build over the years. But Facebook is still a powerhouse. They're immensely popular with a certain crowd, and if they can sort of just bully themselves into the metaverse space and force their model on this sort of
they've got billions of dollars, and they can hire anyone they want to make whatever they want. So keep an eye on them. The real name policy and all that stuff. I mean, what Google Plus did too. That stuff really scares me, because the opportunity to be creative and explore sort of non-commercial life, even a very creative life in Second Life, that's something that I don't see in the Facebook one. Again, we don't know if they just sort of copy their model into the metaverse and do the same thing, or maybe they do something different. We have no idea.
The question arises that we really should be asking about all of these companies. You know, you've got Philip doing his thing. You've got Linden Lab doing their second, SL2. You've got Facebook now doing this Oculus thing, and who knows where they're going to go with it. But I think the question that we need to be asking is, they've proven that they can do things the first time. They made the things that got them where they are. Can they make this next thing? Can they take it to the next step and really build something that is truly an improvement over what they did in the past, which I'm sure is their goal? But, how likely are they going to be to hit that mark? Or is it going to be a wonderful or a failed experiment? I've seen Blue Mars and Cloud Party have a lot of potential at the very early phases, particularly Cloud Party. I was really surprised that they bowed out the way they did to Yahoo. I can understand why, but
close to the Oculus Rift being bought. What do you think about that?
What?
Same thing.
What do you mean bought?
You're close.
What are you saying, Fluffy?
It's a very strange flow of events. You sell your virtual world platform and then buy Oculus Rift.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem with that is that Oculus Rift knows very well that they are being bypassed left, right, and center by other headsets that are using the same sort of technology, but that are already better and that are going to go onto the market really soon. And the team knew that if they didn't get into bed with Facebook or whoever had millions and millions of dollars,
going into bed,
they would never make it.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's so funny how you get it's like VHS over beta, or Blu-ray over I can't even remember the other one. It's what becomes the standard, and who does it first. It doesn't matter if it's better. It's just who does it first, and how many people can get to use it first, and then it will just take over.
Well, I mean,
so maybe that's what they're doing.
We're right in the middle of the VR wars. It's only just begun, and it's going to get really messy and dirty.
Well, the thing that scares me,
I don't think it's messy and dirty is the right way to describe it, though. I think I welcome all of these companies to create their virtual worlds.
I don't
please hurry up and do it, because the more the better for virtual reality in general. We need to put this technology and give everybody that golden hour experience that we were talking about earlier.
Right, and I want to have that stuff. I want to have that stuff done before I am in an old folks' home. Right, so
we're all going to be spend all our time in old folks' homes with headsets on anyway. So, but that is quite important for Second Life. If we can make that golden hour interesting for people who have headsets, they're going to be spending a lot of time in Second Life. And I've been telling people who use the Oculus that all these games and demos are fantastic, but there is one thing much more interesting than exploring someone's virtual world, and that is exploring your own virtual world, where you can build whatever you like, put your headset on, and then go inside it. That's how they come to Second Life. And if we can make Second Life interesting for Oculus users, even if it's just for the first hour,
And I was also going to say about I think, Rose, you mentioned the Sony Morpheus. I mean, we talk about some critic, Joe, remember, called us that we're on the radio hour talk about headsets every day, which is not true. But there's just so much stuff coming out competition-wise in terms of head-mounted displays and other wearable technology, and just tracking technology. As a matter of fact, the current Drax files that came out Friday was, of course, overshadowed by the Lindens. Jesus, they killed the ratings for us. But we have a great show about immersive journalism with a 1-hour interview with Noni de la Peña, who does immersive journalism with really serious topics like police brutality. She started with virtual Guantanamo in Second Life. But now she does a lot of stuff that she builds in Unity, and then she just puts the headsets on and plays the Unity software. But she has a room that is completely tracked, and she exhibited at the Tribeca Film Fest with an experience where you witness a brutal beating of an immigrant by border police. She did the Hungarian Los Angeles project where you're in a food line at a food bank and somebody collapses and you're completely immersed amazing stuff that is just so much more powerful with the headsets. I'm wondering, talking about this, this is the current show. Head on over to draxfiles.com after the show and listen to this. It's really
Quite an
interesting.
investment, though, isn't it?
The problem
Buying the
is
headset?
what she does. She works with a proprietary headset that is very expensive, but I think the Oculus is, Palmer Lucky's quoted as saying that the Oculus will come on the market at the lowest possible price. So whatever that is, maybe it's $199, maybe it's even $99. Who knows? Some of these other headsets, the Dive or the Altergaze for cell phones, where you slip in the cell phone, they're going to be, the Dive is $60. I mean, that's a low price point.
That's
I was
3D.
gonna ask
If
you
you got a
guys-
3D printer, it's going to be free.
I was going to ask you guys, we have hardware, but we have, again, we've been talking about the metaverse is coming online, and somebody said OpenSim. I think Loki said it in chat. Now let's talk about the fact that these are still going to be most likely walled gardens. And Linden has also said, this is not going to be open source, SL 2.0.
At first.
Right, and we had Maria Korolov from the Hypergrid on, and she says, the Hypergrid and OpenSim, that's the model of the metaverse. That's an open model. Philip Rosedale is quoted as saying that he wants to have this open and distributed and everything. What do you guys think about that aspect? Another walled garden, or is it just sort of the way to do business in order to compete with whatever Facebook is doing, or what's the deal?
You mean closed or open sourced? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
I mean, SL started out closed source. It was closed for a long time. Many of the virtual worlds were, and then went open after they got to a certain point. I don't think there's anything particularly unusual about it. I mean, I would rather that it be open, but I think in terms of trying to speed along development, it's going to be more helpful to them to be closed off to at least start this out with. I'm more concerned about the technologies being serious, proprietary walled garden technologies like Sculpties, for example, where now we can't use any of that stuff outside of SL. And it needs to at least use more common technologies, I think, if it's going to be closed.
Mesh, yeah.
Yeah. No, but also but with the governance model, essentially, what are my rights in a world that is controlled by one company, by one benevolent dictator, that kind of thing.
You have no rights.
Well, I mean, it's me, It's if the king is angry, what is he going to do with me? I think these things are going to be incredibly important in the future when the metaverse is just so immersive, and we all have a holodeck at home, and we all interact that way, and it's controlled by one or two corporations. Plus, we haven't even touched upon this, the net neutrality issue in the U.S., where there's going to be a fast internet and there's going to be a slow internet for people who don't have the dough to put down to be on a fast internet. So these issues are completely unresolved.
So it might be nice if in the future they could somehow build it into the browser, maybe like a HTML5 is, but make it HTML. I guess it might be 10 or 20 by that time. As long as you have OpenGL, I guess. But if it was something that could be shipped that way through a browser, then of course anyone could kind of plug into it, I guess.
But we're still going to be the same human. Sorry, Max.
Doing web-based would probably be the smartest place for them to start from if they want to really make this scalable. That was one of the things that Cloud Party got right, and I was really impressed with the way they handled that in the OpenGL. C++ and JavaScript being their core languages over there really made a difference too, and I'm again shocked that it didn't take off any further than it did, but it just goes to show you what I think is probably our biggest worry in an SL 2.0 is the fact that you've still got the same company running it that's running this one, and it has problems. And yeah, I love them for what they did, and they've obviously been successful in terms where nobody else has. But let's be honest here, the technology isn't going to be the biggest hurdle for them if they're going to make a more successful Second Life. It's that they also have to make changes to the company in order for it to succeed, beyond the scope of this.
I have this suspicion, though, that sometimes these tech folks maybe are eating too much of their own dog food. As much as I want to see 1 billion people, and you've all heard Philip say again, 1 billion people are going to be here and all that. As much as I want to see them, and as much as I know that 1 billion people or even more could so benefit from virtual worlds and what they can do, I have serious doubts that there's interest. And again, Max, you saw it yourself with the Cloud Party. They had solved a lot of technical issues. They were on the freaking web, which was always like, oh yeah, of course nobody's in SL because they're not on the web. And here it's Cloud Party, and it still didn't succeed. So maybe there is just no interest in virtual worlds.
The reason Blue Mars and Cloud Party both failed was because of the companies that were running them and the decisions that they made. Really bad ones. Over and over again. I don't know what that bodes for the future of an SL 2.0, but I certainly think that they need to make some changes internally to their structure as well as just to saying we can make the better technology. We know the technology's out there that can make a better version of this. How are they going to change? That's what I really am interested in more than anything else.
It is
Well,
almost
the question is, what can they offer that we don't?
It is almost like all the virtual worlds that we know are being run by people who don't use them themselves, and I think that's changing now in Second Life. I mean, I have good hopes for Ebbe, and because his son is a hardcore Second Life user, and he's doing his best. He's spending a lot of time in the world as well. So I think that is changing now. But I've had that in Second Life for quite a while, and with all the other sims or virtual worlds as well, you think, what are they thinking? Why are they doing this? Don't they know what's happening in the virtual world?
Guys, Fluffy, what did you say? Briefly, repeat. I couldn't hear you.
I have the attention span of a gnat. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay, well, thank you.
I just want to say,
Probably wasn't important
to me, Second Life is magical. Nothing else has come close to it yet. But it is really about the community, as we've all been talking about.
Exactly. That's at the core of the magic. And Max, I would like to... I'm sure you have tons of examples, including that, folks maybe don't spend any time in the world to see what people do. But I still do think that maybe the person on the street, and we do this on the podcast, I go out with the little recorder into the community and I ask people, would you do this? Would you engage with it? Are you even interested? And the response is incredibly interesting, and Linden Lab should really listen to this stuff. Why people are not even interested, even if I kind of describe it in the best possible terms. People don't see a value in it. They don't see, people say, well, I don't know, Skype works for me, for interaction. I don't know, Photoshop works for me for creating things. I don't know. So the whole sum of the parts that is bigger than the sum of the parts, the magic of Second Life or the magic of a virtual world is not communicated really well. And I don't know how to communicate it better.
It is about finding that secret subject that we've talked about earlier. Finding that one thing that appeals to someone. I've had this discussion with people, and I've almost always find something that they find interesting that can bring them to Second Life or get them interested in virtual reality. There is something that we all want, and with every person that's different, because unfortunately we're all individuals. Makes it complicated.
And there we go. We have full cycle. By the way, I want to say we have passed an hour here because I invited you guys for an hour, and I'm incredibly grateful for the time that you spent here. I got a message earlier from Doc that we are on for 2 hours now, and I don't know if I'm going to keel over with the jet lag, and I certainly cannot force you guys to stick around. But I'm just asking you if you could stick around.
Yeah, if you want to go,
please
just
leave.
go.
Just go, just log off and get out of here.
But if you don't, please don't.
Let me just say that I would like to open the floor for questions. You can IM me directly, and I'll post those to the panelists or just comments. You can also try voice, but let's give it a try. If voice works, if it's too chaotic, because we're taping this for later broadcast, then we just have to do it in text. So hit me with your questions. In terms of people and Second Life is full of people, and the people is what makes Second Life work. I completely agree with that. And to that point, what we started about talking in the very beginning about the new user experience, I want to ask you guys. I forgot to ask you, what do you think about the hand-holding thing? Because I think Joe and we disagree a little bit on that, right? Because I am completely convinced that you need the hand-holding. That means you have sort of a gateway type of program that they used to have, where you teleport in, and there's always somebody there who helps you out, who asks you in a friendly manner, why are you here for? What are you looking for? That kind of stuff. And Joe, I think you maintain that is not really necessary. So where do we stand on that?
It depends on the person. I don't like it. I don't want people to teach me and explain me. I'm not patient enough for that. When I joined Second Life, I just ran as fast as I could into the world, and I had no idea what I was doing. So some people may want that, others don't. It's different for everyone.
People do learn in different ways. Some people like to be shown. Some people want to learn on their own. Some people just have to experience.
We need instructions, though.
Yeah.
But Sky, that to me says that you should have these people around so that the noob could then politely decline and says, no, it's fine.
I think so.
Just like in a store, right? You go in a store and somebody says, in Germany, actually, if you're in a store looking around and you don't buy anything, in Germany, the clerk will come and says, are you going to buy something or what? So that's a different culture. But
the option to be there, people should have a choice of actually talking to somebody,
but we can't depend on it. That's the problem. I mean, if we depend on that sort of thing, there's going to be people arriving at these islands at the moment when there's nobody around. So I think that Second Life should be prepared to welcome new people and give them all the information they need without depending on their accidentally someone being there, a volunteer who can help them out.
But it's so corporate
looking, isn't it? Part of the story right from the beginning.
Sorry, Lost first, and then Fluffy. Lost, go ahead, Lost.
It's just so kind of corporate-y, clean, and crappy when you first log in and you go to the welcome island or whatever. You don't really get a real taste of what Second Life is and what it can do for you. Mm-hmm. You don't get to go to the really cool places and see some amazing, sims.
It should be
That's been the problem right from the beginning. Look, we are all looking for a degree of instant gratification, and Vic Barcella said SL should not be hell for noobs. It's always been hell for noobs. And it's only when you meet that person or you make that connection or that leap that you want to make it happen. But let me ask you this. When you're born, are you all in, or does it take like a couple of years until you're 5 or 6 and know how to ask good questions?
You have no choice when you're born, do you? But you have a choice when you log into Second Life.
Yeah, you can just turn off.
It's a little bit different. Yeah, I mean
aside from some basic hand-holding through the how to change your hair and put your clothes on and fly kind of tutorials, the basics, I think after that first step, there needs to definitely be work done on creating some kind of channels or a system of channels that sort of funnels people into their interests. What is it that you want to do here? Not try and tell them everything you can do here, but what is it you want to do?
Well, it could be nice to see more videos maybe on their website. More presence of what Second Life's about.
I think that
they have a channel.
I think that new users should get as much information about Second Life and all the instructions before they even teleport in. And I think that it would be really great if they learn the basics.
That's your idea. That's a good one.
And then use, for instance, the destination guide to choose the very first place they go to. You don't want to send people to one of those information islands where all the grievers hang out and where it's a mess and where there's lag. Imagine if the very first place you went to when you joined Second Life was one that you picked with a subject that interested you. You could have skipped the first hour and you start somewhere.
Or before you even made that choice, you're shown, rather than being confused by a completely virtual world, perhaps you spend a few minutes on a 10 web pages, connected to each other through some kind of a basic tutorial.
Well, it could be a game. It could be a little game tutorial.
If they land in a beautiful place and there's welcome signs around, like there was at that second landing, and it's just a place for new people, so the trolls and the griefers aren't hanging out. Just a pleasant place.
Should look like me.
There could be a mix of maybe a person to help them, offers of landmarks to go to places that have nice orientation sessions, links to tutorials. There could be a mix of information so that it could reach people in all the different ways that they learn.
We could also have an in-screen tutorial. I've had that. I'm a gamer, a hardcore gamer, and I've had that with some games. That when you start the game, you're already in the middle of the world, but you get little pop-up windows that says, welcome to this game, with a little point. This is how you walk, this is what you do, and you can cancel that at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just little signs on your screen that say, if you look up here, this is where you have your little radar and where you can see all the people you have to kill.
Fluffy, the HUD should. Fluffy is asking if they don't have a clue to attach a HUD. The HUD should already be attached. Let me just add this. We had Alex Altberg, Ebba's son, on the show, and he said exactly that in a conversation. I don't know if we have it on the show, if I had a private conversation with him, said that it has to be kind of a game-like tutorial maybe. That's also optional, but it should at least be there, like really nice, seamless,
just
quick.
To get people started.
I want to go to there's really tons of audience input here. I want to get to that. Before I get to that, we have a little donation box here. If you like the show, if you want to keep the show going, give us money. No, you don't have to give. This is completely voluntary, but you can show your appreciation by taking out a voluntary subscription. It's $100 Linden suggested per month, which is $25 Linden per show. This is, I don't know how this relates to a cup of coffee that you drink every morning. That's what they say on the NPR shows. On the NPR shows, when they do pledge drive, they go like, come on, give us a little money. I mean, you pay $5 for a cup of coffee in the morning.
What's an NPR show?
National Public
American?
Radio. Yes, you're a foreigner, Joe. I'm sorry. But let me say,
be relentless like they are.
Joe and I, we put a lot of work into this show. We
way too much.
We book a lot of guests. We try to keep up on the news. We try to kind of really put it all together. We have Tony Parisi coming up, the creator of VRML, and a big proponent of WebGL. We have Josh Carpenter coming on from the Mozilla Foundation, which has just announced a week ago that they will have Firefox ready to go with the Oculus Rift to plug it in, and where you can build VR applications right in the browser. So maybe the metaverse is the web. So we have tons of amazing guests every single week for you guys.
Very cool.
So give us a little bit of appreciation in terms of the good old-fashioned Linden dollar.
It's just tip jar.
Here's a bunch of comments. I'm just going to read them. Hannah Handheld, sorry, see, I couldn't read her display name. She says, comments, thanks for addressing the loss of net neutrality. I'd just like to comment that's not simply speed. It also looks like ISPs will clamp down on the amount of data, and that will have to be addressed by virtual worlds, which are naturally bandwidth hungry. Exactly, and that, I think, is the real thing that will slow innovation down in a mean way, when they clamp down on the amount of data. The people who own the pipes, the Comcasts and the AT&Ts, and it's really not looking good. So this is a U.S. specific issue. In Europe, there is rulings exactly the other way around, which is very encouraging. I encourage folks to listen to Bill Moyers on this, BillMoyers.com, one of the greatest living journalists we have in the U.S., and he has been covering the net neutrality issue every time, on every show. Aleska Udemo is sending a message here. I work for New Citizens Incorporated. Thank you. I was going to mention this earlier. New Citizens Incorporated helped me, and I think New Citizens Incorporated, NCI, and Gwyneth Llewellyn probably made me stick around. Otherwise, I I may have quit. Ask the panel what they feel the pros and cons of resident volunteer helpers groups are. Good question. So what do you guys think? Fluffy, what do you think volunteer helpers, good or bad?
Great. You're never going to make it on any kind of end-user appreciated experience without volunteers wanting to help and convert others.
I used to be a volunteer at NCI at the hubs to help the new residents coming in. And I enjoyed doing that. So.
And what was your experience? Is this something that can be overwhelming, I suppose? I mean, what do you do when people just sort of inundate you with questions? How many hours did you put in? I mean, that sounds...
Well, I would just have a 1 or 2 hour shift. We took turns, and I don't mind it at all. I still, whenever I see a new person walking around, I'll ask them if they need help or have any questions. I'm glad to help them out. Maybe they'll want to stay.
I'm a stranger in paradise.
Yeah, you do need to be patient. But that's true in any kind of teaching situation.
Yeah. Let's see. Arden Schwartzman. He says,
"Hello.
When is Esteban here for the interview?" Because earlier I said that we have a special guest, and he was maintaining that it's Esteban Winsmore, and I have to say it's not Esteban Winsmore. He's not coming, and it looks like the original special guest, which was unclear if he or she was available, is not available.
So you'll never know who it was.
We will know in 3 weeks when there's an exclusive taped interview on the show.
Yay!
Dom Luanesa is asking Max, Cloud Party and Blue Mars have made bad decisions. Max, can you elaborate a little bit on what those bad decisions were?
Oh, goodness. Short answer is difficult on this one, but it became apparent at some point in both worlds that neither of the companies seemed to have a really clear idea of how to go forward, like what they wanted it to be in the end. Is this a gaming platform? Is this a virtual world? Is this a social place? They really started to do things like putting the cart in front of the horse, so to speak, in terms of technology, like trying to focus on user experience before there was any content, or vice versa, and sort of not handling either of them very well. They both had really small development teams, so it meant that even small amounts of progress were very extended. A lot of bad decisions, but most of it just seemed to come back to the idea that they didn't seem to have a really strong idea of what it was like to be a user inside that environment for an extended amount of time, trying to do anything, especially trying to run a business. They had no idea that the changes that they make affect us so much, and they do.
Yeah, very true, actually. I think you got me into Cloud Party, and one thing I was surprised, they didn't have any voice in it, and it was hard to TP around. And those two things are very important, I think, in Second Life. Well, voice is not that important, I guess, but it is kind of cool to have, to be able to, communicate with your other friends, like, Max and I could have done it. Yeah, I mean, they never had that, actually.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that it was Linden Lab's bad decision-making, or do you think that there are just some people who are not ready for this level of virtual world immersion? Because I think that there are some people who are just not ready for it. Just like 4 years ago, my 84-year-old granddad was not ready for a Facebook account.
Well, I'm still not ready for mobile telephones or miniskirts. So, yes, probably.
Me too.
Fluffy, the interesting thing is that what I find when interviewing people or lining people up for the video reportage, that it's completely irrelevant how old you are. The next video is about a guy who was 22, and the one after that is about a guy who was 86. This whole digital native thing is baloney. you gravitate towards this when you have an open mind, or you don't if you don't.
Well,
Plus, what's
it's a little bit more complicated than that, I think. But yeah.
Yes, it is. But I just wanted to say something black and white.
You just want to say something.
No, I mean, earlier I acknowledged how big the issue is.
Yeah.
That the issue is really that I see in my circle of friends, colleagues, and such a large group of people who could have tremendous benefits in a virtual world, and they are just not interested.
But there's many applications for it too.
I think that goes back again to, I think we've said it a few times now, that everyone needs to find their one subject, even if that's just knitting, a virtual knitting club. I know there are people who are not interested in virtual reality, but they would love the idea of a virtual, of chatting with friends from all over the world about
but you know
knitting.
What? But Joe, we had Pamela. I gotta say this. I gotta jump on you here because Joe, we played Pamela here, who I interviewed, and she is a knitter, and that's exactly the thing that I said to her. I asked her, what are your hobbies? What are you passionate about? She says, well, I have a knitting circle, and then I say, well, how about you share this? How about a knitting circle that extends the little town that we live in? And she says, well, I already have that. I share this stuff with my friends in Colorado and stuff like that. And she says, and I say, yeah, so how do you do that? She says, well, we email and then we do Skype stuff. And I say, well, but this is so much more. This is a sense of place. And then I hear my own voice and I go like, oh shit, I'm sounding like a freaking cult leader here.
Yeah.
And it sounds so esoteric.
You have to try it.
Come play with us.
I get people to try it.
I have a friend. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just real quickly, I have a friend in England who's in a wheelchair, but she comes in Second Life to dance. And that's just amazing,
That's
so
amazing.
It takes all kinds
that's
of people
something you
to
have
do
to
these
try. No, you have to try to sort of understand it first.
And Lois, when I say stuff like that, and we did a whole feature documentary for German television with people in the disabled community, and you know what people have told me in the face, and I'm not a violent person, but I seriously contemplated hitting them in their jaw. They said, well, I understand when you can't walk that you go in there. I mean, isn't that unbelievable?
Well, I come here because I have a disability that I can't time travel.
There you go, or teleport. It's kind of a cool thing too, isn't it? Or flying.
Yeah, and most of us can't fly in real life either.
Yeah. We have a few more questions, and I do have to. I'm getting the evil eye here in real life. I have to get children to bed very soon, so let's ask here. Lady Alicia Eagerly is asking, do you think Linden Lab is taking the leap to have a smaller user base? I don't know exactly what that question pertains to, but maybe is it about the SL2.0 that they're taking this risk, knowing full well
specializing?
Yeah. What do you think, Max?
Well, I mean, do you mean like they're trying to sort of compartmentalize their user base and like have a certain segment of the population go to this SL 2.0?
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, I could see where that might happen at first, but I think their goal is they want to make it bigger. And I think at some point they realized, as a lot of us have here, that you can't make this much bigger the way it is. You have to start from scratch. If we
Do you think they'll have two versions? This Second Life and a 2.0?
That's what he said so
For a
far.
while.
So they're going to be running both of them.
Sorry.
They're not going to close it.
I think they'd love to have a younger. I think they'd love to tap into a younger user base, but that's also really eluded them. I think some of the advertising, which focused on vampires, was trying to piggyback on the vampire saga.
But that stuff is somewhat old because. But Fluffy Ebbis told us that he really doesn't like those ads, the bikini, and he's been vocal, and I applaud him for that. He's been vocal about the bikini ads and the vampire ads, that he really doesn't like him, and I think that's great. So there's a lot of changes there.
I remember when I first
I mean,
came
it
into
depends on
Second
what
Life.
it's going to look like too. If it ends up looking very, maybe they make something that ends up looking really cartoony and kind of Minecraftian, if you will, or maybe that ends up being high fidelity. But maybe Second Life 2.0 is much more going for current, cutting edge realism or something.
When I first came into
that plays heavily.
Sorry,
I think they must have it as open to create whatever look, whatever aesthetic you want to make it successful. The magic is in Second Life right now that you have a complete, pretty much not complete, but you have very big control over the aesthetic. You can make it a cartoonish world. You can look like Fluffy, or you can look like Maxwell Graf.
Well, the strongest thing, the strongest tool Second Life has is absolute freedom, and
right.
I think that Second Life 2 will offer that as well. And I also think that if that Facebook world will probably not offer that. High Fidelity may offer that, but I think that is the strongest thing that there is at the moment: absolute freedom. And as long as they keep that and only make it better, I'm fine with that.
I'm sitting here looking at myself sitting next to Laws, and I'm like, there's nothing particularly unique about this. I look like his older, angrier brother who didn't do so well.
Second Life, don't we?
Fluffy asked me privately, are Max and Laws twins? Are you guys twins or what?
Right. I mean, we probably have the same skin or something. It's pretty funny.
Mom always loved you best.
I wanted to add something about when I first came into Second Life 8 years ago. That there were actually Mercedes-Benz billboards and things. It was very barren land. There was a few trees and stuff, but there was I remember there was tons of billboards, and you could click on the billboard, and it would send you to their website, to the dealership. Of course, that stuff's gone now, but that's how it used to be. It's quite different than it is now.
I think it was. I have a bunch of old videos where we examined how stupid some of these marketing decisions were by these big companies, where you'd be like, "Oh my God, they really didn't understand the
But
place."
today, today they could do it rather well. I mean, I can imagine, a BMW or Volkswagen shop in World where you can buy absolutely fantastic mesh workable copies of their cars.
Yeah. But
we can imagine it, but they can't. They tried it here with the virtual car that you could get. It was who was it? Was it Isuzu or somebody had a
That's funny.
car island you could go to here and drive their virtual car.
Oh yeah, there were several, but Pontiac was there, I believe. But you know what? What all they did, and there's tons of examples. It's all well documented. It's really not an issue of the low fidelity of Second Life at the time or whatever. It was a complete lack of imagination. American Apparel or these big malls.
They didn't know what to do with it.
Exactly. If you put a big mall in a place where you can do whatever you want, you can do cool stuff, and you put a big mall there where there's nobody in there, give me a break. There was a reportage on German TV at the time, which was really great, which compared American Apparel, I believe, and Adidas. I'm sorry, Adidas, who were not successful, and a guy out of his I was going to say basement, out of his apartment, had a shoe store in Second Life, who was tremendously successful. And why was he successful? Because of very common sense, good old fashioned type of running a store. He was there, he had customer service, he interacted, and Adidas just put an empty thing in there with absolutely nothing. So when you go into an awesome world like this, why would you hang out in an empty mall if you're not completely insane? Right?
Well, would you ever open a store in real life and not have any people in the store?
Right. Exactly.
You just wouldn't. And I think that certainly there was the hype in 2006 where you could just build it and you don't have to carry inventory and it's all there. And that is very attractive. But the fact is, without having anybody there to run
drive people to it.
As a business, it's like people went to China and didn't speak Chinese and thought they didn't need anybody in their store who spoke Chinese and didn't need anybody in the store. I think that it was not well thought out. Again, we live in an instant gratification world. Second Life is not an instant gratification kind of place. Not really. Not if you're wearing all your clothes.
All right.
Ew.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine you naked,
briefly.
Fluffy.
Oh God, Fluffy looks terrible. I've seen him when he was little.
He was
His
yellow?
mom bathed him.
I've seen him
Last
passed
week, you
out
mean?
naked at a party once. It wasn't.
Beer bottle in hand.
Guys, real
dark
quick,
alley.
now we have to wrap. We have about 10 minutes. Let's wrap it on the dot here. Busy Pfeffer is asking, what do you think? Why did Ebby now mention SL 2.0? What brought him to do it high fidelity? I think we mentioned that earlier. My speculation was understanding from Pete Linden that he gave a bunch of interviews that are supposed to come out this coming week, where he mentioned SL 2.0, and so given that he was at this third-party viewer meeting on Friday, he felt that he already let the cat out of the bag. He might as well tell the community. I think
I
that's
wonder
the
if
reason
he.
given to me.
I wonder if he meant to say it during those interviews, or maybe he's done one interview and accidentally slipped it out, and now he has to tell it everywhere.
Maybe you can imagine that Linden Lab, they go like, what? Joe, you said that. It was funny because you said to me Friday, said, Pete and the others must go crazy because Rod didn't talk at all and Ebbe is talking too much.
Yeah.
There's no
we
middle
can't get him
ground.
to stop talking. Well, we have to be very, very happy about that. Ebbe's been doing a pretty good job, and one thing that he's fixed already is that they're communicating with us, and that's fantastic.
If you guys have questions, a couple more questions, send them to me in private IM, please. Read them. Almost There Inventor in the audience. Hey, Almost There, how are you doing? He's asking, he's not asking, he's making a very, very good comment that I want you guys to comment on. He's saying, maintaining backward compatibility is inhibiting SL functionality growth. So this is the big conundrum. Ebbe said they're not going to guarantee backward compatibility because they don't want to limit themselves. And that has already brought some people out there to shout, oh, you're going to kill all my stuff. And we addressed it earlier. Yes, for Joe, it's going to be a nightmare to port your 1920 sim over to whatever the new thing is going to be.
Don't remind me.
But obviously, I mean, I agree with Almost There. It's as sad as it is. It hampers growth, no?
I imagine clothing's the biggest thing, isn't it, to be affected by this, and skin.
Yeah.
Obviously, the avatars would be different, I'm sure, but again, I think mesh in general should be pretty okay. It might just be re-importing it, possibly.
I really mind losing most of my inventory, to be honest, because in Second Life you replace most of your things every couple of months anyway because it's outdated or replaced. I mean that's something that's been going on for years. There's nothing in my inventory that's old.
Okay.
What?
Max,
Yes,
go ahead. Next.
I think we're all seeking a sense of permanence with this, and what we have to keep in mind is that this is completely organic. It's always changing, and nothing gets to stay the same for a long time.
It's
We've
evolution.
had a good run here.
You can't fight evolution.
Let me ask you though, because we've been Fluffy and I got into hot water. Fluffy, remember with the first episode, Primland, where we got accused that we wanted to kill prims, and I certainly don't, because I think people have built stuff with prims that is absolutely amazing, and it's still completely valid, and there's a craft to it which is amazing. But Joe, is it true that you can? Isn't that what you're doing? That you convert prims to mesh somehow? I mean, I'm not a technical person.
Yeah, you can export them using
cool.
files.
No, I've bought this little gadget thingamajig, a HUD, that allows me to turn all my prim builds into mesh. It's fantastic.
Part of this,
actually, go on.
That's a non-issue.
Part of this problem is the idea of ownership. The reality is that we never owned anything in our inventory to begin with.
Yes.
We thought we did. We bought the use of it for a little while, and we kind of, you dance, you got to pay the fiddler. We paid our monies, and we got to use those things in here, but now if something else is being offered, I certainly don't have a problem with letting go of all that and having to start up again.
Let me ask you: Would you use hair from 3 or 4 years ago now, or clothing? No, you wouldn't.
I think I haven't changed my hair. I've changed my hair twice in 5 years.
It's hard. It's
Amateur
very hard.
Marketing.
Sorry.
No, but look, I know people who are tremendously attached to their avatar, and so was I. I upgraded myself. I'm really happy with me, but I upgraded.
There is no Drax store.
I would like to see.
2012 to buy
I'd like
new
to
hair.
see. I'd like to see actually more Second Life stuff going into real life. I
Yes.
think that is going to be the killer app. For example, I would
3D
love
print
to see my avatar on something like the Face Kini. You know,
Oh,
why
the
can't
Face
they
Kini.
print? Right, why can't they print, me or even better, Maxwell or Laws for a guy or the lovely Sky Spinner or Frau Joe on a woman? Yes, absolutely.
The
And you
Face
could
Kini.
have your avatar face on a Face Kini.
I have
will
no idea
never
what that
be your
is. But
doormat,
if I see that,
Harderfall. If you want to talk to me
What is a
about
face-
a shower curtain,
I
we
have
can
no
only
idea.
be privately.
Guys, you
I'm
gotta
too
click on
scared.
the link.
I'm too scared
Fluffy-
to click the link.
Fluffy put it in the local chat, Face Kini, and Arduin is following this up with another disturbing link. Guys, please research Face Kini. It's very
Oh
important.
my god,
I'm
That would
I'm
be
gonna
quite an
say-
improvement for you, Drax.
that is hilarious.
Well, thank you very
Nightmare
much.
fuel.
But
that wouldn't work well in
before-
California if you die of heat.
Before I take the last question, let me just say, Fluffy, you've been also out there already, and you were one example of going places. You were in a short animated series that was really well received. We printed you. We
Thank you.
printed you. We put you on shirts. We put little action figures out there. Now you're a fart app on the iPhone, which is quite sad. But we don't own your trademark, so the owner.
And coming
of
soon is the adult novelty sex toy 3D
Thank you.
printed fluffies.
Oh shit! Why did you say that? Last question, Chris Spade. Do you think it's a good idea to have a shared accounting system across both virtual worlds? My username can be chris.spade in SL, and the new thing also, question mark. People have a sense of identity here in SL. I think it makes most sense to share the account's password across both platforms. I think Chris is alluding to SL. Well, he's referring to SL 2.0, I guess, that when SL2 comes online, that we can bring our avatar, or we instantly have, if we have an SL account, we have the same in
Or at least our names. I mean,
yeah.
You can change your avatar.
Yeah.
We can get used to a new avatar. We can change it. We don't mind. But imagine having to start with a whole new name.
I think.
I mean,
we
I
can
don't like my
probably
name,
say-
but I'm stuck to it now.
And we're also stuck because we have built up tremendous,
Fame.
we have yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean,
I spend more time as Max than I do as me.
Oh.
You know?
that is quite sad, Max. But we'll keep it between us.
You guys weren't twins, are you?
But listen. So obviously, I think Chris and I think I'm almost certain that Linden Lab is going to offer everyone who is an active or just an SL enthusiast at whatever level the ability to go to the new place with that same name. I think they
but you know,
I hope so.
Stupid. No.
That would be
I'd like
bad
to
if
know
it did.
for
How would
sure.
that work with stores and builders and creators and
Oh,
stuff? That'd be
imagine
insane.
that.
Loki has a brilliant idea. I think, can I put forth the proposition that we call it Second Life from now on instead of SL 2.0? I think that's better.
SL 2.0 sucks.
Okay.
How about
Third life.
Afterlife?
Could be third life, maybe.
Afterlife.com. Afterlife.
Afterlife.
Oh God.
Second
Afterlife.
Life 2, no
It's
more
so
Mr.
goth.
Nice Guy. The son of Second Life.
Afterlife.com.
Okay, I have to-
Who said that?
It is my duty, my sad duty to say this is a
Hello.
wrap of a absolutely fascinating conversation. Thanks everyone for showing up. Thank
Thank
you,
you very much.
panelists. Thank you, audience.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting this show. Sky Spinner, Soulstar.
Thank you,
Love Live,
everybody.
Xbox Grab,
Happy birthday,
Super
SL.
Fluffy. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, SL. Can somebody sing, please? Or should we all sing, or should we just not bother and just go on and party? We've been here for I actually wanted to ask the question, why are we still here? That was how I wanted to start the show, completely based on it. But we are still here, so the question is answered. We're still here because we enjoy it.
Happy
Fluffy, take us out.
to you. Auf Wiedersehen.
Mr. President.
Okay, guys. Goodbye and party.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, Drax. Thank you, Frau.
Happy birthday.
All right, so that was our show. Thanks again to all the guests and the audience. We had a blast, and I think we might have to do this again. I think we should do it, and we will have special guests that next time. These special guests will appear for real, we promise. Maybe someday I'll tell you who the special guest that did not appear was, but I have to get permission to tell you the story, why it didn't pan out. It's actually a fun story. By the way, next week we will have Tony Parisi on, finally, the father of virtual reality markup language. Yep. The WebGL guru, the guy who said we don't need no stinking metaverse because we have one, and it's the free and open worldwide web. We just have to make it 3D. That's next week. All right, that does it for today. I'll leave you with a few words by Jessica Lyon, who heads the Firestorm viewer development team. She had a nice blog post entitled Second Life Needs You. I'm saying, on behalf of myself and Joe Yardley, goodbye and see you all in world, because it's birthday time and there's so much to see at this birthday celebration. It's all made by you and you and you and all of us. Here is Jessica Lyon explaining what the heck she means by Second Life Needs You. Have a great one, everyone. Bye.
In the message of the day, I said, is Second Life doomed? Not if you can help it. If you guys stop buying things right now and stop selling and stop making content, that's like saying, I'm not going to go to work today because I'm going to retire in 10 years anyway, so what's the point in going to work? It really makes no sense. How do they improve on an existing system that was developed 11 years ago with really old technology? You rewrite it from scratch. There's hair out there that has, 250 prims with 1024 textures on each prim, different textures, 2 scripts in every prim. Can you imagine trying to bring this to a new platform? It would be just a horrible idea. Another thing I'd like to touch on is the fears people have of having their Lindens being transferred over and their names. Linden Lab would be absolutely fools to not allow people to reserve their names, their Second Life names. It would be absurd to think that they wouldn't allow you to transfer your Linden Dollar account from one to the other. And even maybe while the two platforms are running in parallel, there may even be the possibility of transferring or sharing that Lindex. So if you spend money in Second Life, that balance will also change on the new platform, or vice versa. I think what people need to understand is that virtual worlds are going to evolve with or without Second Life. Whether Linden Lab is the one who does it or some other company that does it, maybe Facebook, with all the users that they have currently, it's going to happen one way or the other. I would hope that it comes out of Linden Lab than some other company that doesn't understand who we are. People forget that Second Life wasn't open source right from the beginning either. Things will be creative. They always have been. Linden Lab at least understands that creativity is the basis for what made Second Life begin in the first place.
Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Bleep Motion, SL Go By On Live, Stitcher, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Carvel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Escapades, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Nantra, Angel Red Couture, Fallen Gods Incorporated, What's Next, Avacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.